Hello, and welcome to this GDG Milton Keynes live stream. Today we have with us Swav Kulinski, who is the lead app developer at the App Business. If you'd like to follow us online, you can check us out at these social handles. We have Twitter at GDG Milton Keynes. We also have our LinkedIn profile up here. And you can also check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And if you'd like to attend the events in person, you can head on to our Meetup account and you can subscribe and register yourself up on there. So first of all, for you guys in the audience, thank you very much for coming. Expect to learn lots today. Not only will you learn lots, you'll also be able to get some hands-on workshop with Swav as well. And in addition, we may have, if you're lucky enough, some pizza a little bit later on, as well as some drinks, which are just in a corner. It's also a place to make and initiate new networks, make some friends with people who are doing development work, especially in the Flutter arena. And also, for those of you who've joined us on YouTube, you can watch this live stream and you'll be able to follow the talk and the presentation, but unfortunately you won't be able to partake in the pizza. Never mind. So just to let you know that today we're actually in the NatWest Accelerator space, which is at the hub in 300 Silbury Boulevard in Milton Keynes. I'd like to introduce to you Sharon Rye, who runs pretty much the show here. So I'll take it away, Sharon. Yep.
First of all, welcome to all of you guys to the NatWest Entrepreneur Accelerator. We are one of 12 hubs around the country where we are supporting entrepreneurs to grow and scale their businesses. So a big aspect of each of our hubs are the community that we have, and the event space that we're in today is open to our speakers, a whole host of series of functions and events that are bringing people together to support collaboration and help them grow their businesses. The program itself is fully funded by NatWest, so this, like I say, is one of 12 hubs around the country where we are actively supporting entrepreneurs to grow and scale. That is through coaching, so we have 2 coaches in every single hub who will work on a one-to-one basis with our entrepreneurs. I support in developing out the wider community, the ecosystem, connecting our entrepreneurs into the bank, whether that's through our fintech proposition or our innovation scouting campaign, or directly to experts such as franchise leaders and things like this. So my job is to find the connections that you need to help you grow your business. In addition to that, I'm responsible for the strategy of our Accelerator Hub in terms of reaching a wider cohort and network. And as the only hub outside of London and Birmingham, we cover a pretty wide patch. As always, we have an ask of entrepreneurs, and my ask of you today is, if you've enjoyed being in this space, then come and find out more about what we're doing and think about ways that you can engage this community, either by delivering, speaking, or getting involved in our networking events. I hope you all have a really fantastic time. Thank you for bringing GDG to Milton Keynes and to our hub. And if you have any questions, I'm going to be around later. Thank you.
So let's try to get out of here and yeah, so a bit of a change, yeah. Okay, what time are we finishing? We're like 45 minutes, that's what I have here.
Yeah. Half an hour, 45 minutes.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, Flutter. Maybe just start with me, yeah? It'll be easier. Yeah, so I was living in Milton Keynes for 15 years. And I just moved out in March this year. And I'm back just now. So yeah, and for most of the time, I'm an engineer building front-end applications. And very recently, I completely sees this function to someone else and just happily join the new kids team, and I'm a Flutter team at that. But what I really like about it, yeah, it sounds pretty harsh, but actually this is what happens. So at Flutter in the first place, because yeah, that's the most interesting questions always. My company Tab, it's an agency, but yeah, lots of apps, different apps, native. Today we're going to look for something which helps us move forward. As an engineer or anyone looking at current landscape of technology, it's so many, you don't know where to. My stack, the stuff I was working on, was like decommission. Just one guy said, oh, it's rubbish. We won't use this on our platform. And the platform was dead. On the end of this talk, I will ask you the question, what was the stack I was talking about? There's a definition. Network disrupts the existing. Fun pun in there. Essentially did disruption to Encyclopedia Britannica, right? It's no longer a bunch of CDs you have to buy for a lump of money. It's something available for free online. So, like, you know, every theory has its father, and this is the father of fear of disruption. And what the theory which essentially owns the market. At some point, there will be contestants showing up, trying to get. They will start, their attempts will be acceptable, but eventually, because they're growing in an environment, then they have to look for the cause, they have to look for and better that current big boy has. They will get like destined to do. Uses most of his examples is that the companies which were leading the market, building massive 5.25 hard drives, and the one before as well, I don't know, it was like 14 inches? Yeah, yeah, that big, yeah. They're completely not visible in the next. They had everything, and it's not that easy for a big company to do this switch. And in the end, this was disrupted by something like this. Over 40 years. It took, yeah, these two stands together, but it was as usable in a certain scenario, and you can still see it. Wright brothers, one of them, I have to fly this month to this is measure essentially new technology by the current standard. New thing, it just matures. It finds a different way of view. Different types of technology. It's transportation, like steam. Here, You know, it's any, yeah, BlackBerry. Yeah, there was a BlackBerry. So essentially, you better because you want to stay on the other ways of fulfilling for it, the management of the devices and everything. So it was like, yeah, if you want to have your fleet of devices within your company, you're gonna go for BlackBerry. It's better than iPhone, which doesn't have it. It's better, yeah. Now a couple years later, and you see what's going on. So what should I do? What I should do, and this is what companies don't do usually. They actually do opposite. They go even further, and up to the essentially budget. Then I'm gonna able to afford actually do the same thing. So of the company which didn't squash, it actually go for even more features. And this company was called Zebo. Trying to do the serious business, to have an actual track of how to talk to our customers, what they need, did they pay. These guys were pumping. There was another company which started a very shitty program. It's very bad per price. So more companies actually could go to this, but to Swav the main ballpark of the customers. And what happened? The big company simply lost all the revenue. It was sold to Oracle for like $5 million or something. This company probably you know. So now I'm waiting for another company who will actually do the same thing to the Salesforce. Myself, I would say front-end developer mostly. It's not like I have them in my hand or on the screen of my computer. That's there is a dream, right? There is a dream that, it was a long time ago. It's not like the first time someone tries to do it, that there will be one code base. And everyone promises this. There will be one code base you can do anything, you can deploy it on any platform, it works, it's fast, it's effective, and it's like holy grail of all the write your test twice. You don't want to create, code twice and, have everything. You're executing one code on two different platforms with two different it becomes not so part of code is very simple, and actually making it work on a platform is difficult. And what I see, most of the attempts of building the cross-platform thing, this is a price tag per launch, right? Not how much. Because you see engines, you have some solid rocket means that essentially defined by size of a truck. What this thing is. So they couldn't be bigger. They were exactly what it is. And let's have it. It's developed. It works there. So let's use it. But what they pay back, what the size of a tunnel is, because it's just too many tunnels in the country to be changed to actually, satisfy just one solid rocket booster. So this is an example of this type of thinking. And on top of it, all these parts were built in a different factories around. What is the opposite? That's the opposite. And this is what actually most of the cross-platform solutions will, in the end, require from you. Essentially, how much dependency do I have on Android? How much? Our dear friends from Facebook React Native is very similar in terms of ideas to Flutter. What this difference really gives us. So DOM like HTML kind of thing with CSS and everything, representation of what has changed, draw this part of it. And then when it actually figures out what has to be changed, it will actually go to the and then we'll translate this to the platform on iOS and Android and try to put the place to represent exactly is that information and rebuild your native UI. And events and things like that. So if you look at essentially the guides on how to the bridge few times, they're not too far. Essentially, be the closest, just jump through this bridge. A lot of things on this native host part. So where is my, holy grail of one code base? It's already some Swift and Kotlin in here. I can feel it, right? What is happening with React Native. And actually does the things in a reactive way in terms of UI. So it's quite, modern for mobile. If you then look at the things like Xamarin, browser, which is also your dependency, because every system and its version will have a different version of your browser. And this means that may render things this way or another way. You never know until you have a bug issue, and you have to look at it and fix it. So what the guys in what if we and then they realize very quickly, it's like, oh, it's all mine, so I can actually create a DOM that I like. Something new, right? A new paradigm for it. It's used to have 10 years ago. They are more reactive. They show more information. Actually, gain this. They became a platform. They can actually go to canvas and try to do it. And this is why this layered cake, Oh, yeah, it can run on this. Yeah, sure. But it can run on Mac OS and on Linux and on Windows and on Chrome OS and on favorite one, which is PlayStation. I haven't had this one yet, but it's very it's either create a renderer for it, but it shouldn't be that difficult to actually add something here in the embedder to actually make it run. And another create a, psychedelic Photoshop effects in your app if you want to, just because you have access to the code base, you can actually play with it. So, yeah, it's a cross-platform. Nah, it is a platform, and this is why I think that's the to other cross-platform solutions. But it's not the only thing which is new, because when you have an opportunity to do it the right way, then why wouldn't you do that? Very often I'm looking at Android code base and see, did these guys ever heard about solid principles like separation of concerns? Because if yes, then why my text view also knows how to position itself, acts as a button, or edit text at the same time? It's just one class. Why it does so many things? Yeah, because back then these guys who initially thought about it, they didn't thought about the principles for this. After 10 years, when you start to see the problems piling up, you see that was a mistake. It should be single. This class should only just render text, do nothing. And this is what the Flutter is actually doing. It's not taking essentially existing paradigm of Android or iOS layout and try to map it into the new ways of building it. It just comes with a fresh one. And I can seriously trust the guys who do that, because they build a Chrome browser. The guys who are working on Flutter project, they're ex-Chrome's Chrome team, so they know what they're talking about. They struggle with this for years to build a browser, so they know how to build layouts. Essentially, the idea that yes, you will create a DOM. One very interesting difference, and this difference is that essentially they will know how to position them. The children don't know how to position themselves. They only know how to draw themselves and to measure themselves. Oh, I'm text, I'm this much long. This is what I'm going to occupy on the screen. So my parent, please put me somewhere where I'm supposed to be. And if I'm a column, then okay, you have third child, so you go here. Done. What it actually makes is that, I don't know how many of you tried to do Android before. Have you seen Android layout? Yeah. So if I change essentially linear layout to relative layout, I also have to change the attributes of the children because they are not corresponding to the parent. So effectively, I have to change the code which talks about the text view just because I've changed the parent. This is not good, because what the parent may do, and very often this information, it won't be even used, because maybe someone is building everything composition, then you can essentially tell what you want to do. If you want to have a column, there will be a column. It will behave like a linear layout, exactly. But if you put in a different widget, you can have sense with where this thing should be on the screen. So in turn, oh, that's a lot. What it means that the code is simpler. It's not only that. So if I hear this, then my disruptor brain already is going to, oh, this means that I'll be able very quickly. It won't take me 2 years to understand Android, the principles. It will take me weeks. So you see, this is why it got my attention. And these things which you can see in Flutter, there will be a number of them, which are the things that we were doing for the last 10 years in some way, always complaining about it, always looking at the build time, taking 10 minutes. And I don't like it. No one like it. So let's fix it. And Flutter actually fixed it. So that's the part of talk. Yeah. So we can have a break now, or we can, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you get a performance improvement with it?
So with regard to what? To native or to web apps, to Xamarin, to React Native? Okay. So usually it operates 60 frames per second. And because what it really does, it does the full decomposition. And it's a native machine code of about it as a Unity 3D, just 2D, right? It renders every frame and sends to OpenGL canvas, please show this, show this, show this, show this, and that's it. Nothing else crosses essentially the bridge, just this information. There are tiny bits which also cross, which is essentially communication with the platform itself. I want to use Bluetooth, I want to use network, I want to use something else, what is my battery level. But the concept of the UI is just essentially this thing spitting out entire image was supposed to be shown on the screen and telling OpenGL, that's it, give it to me. Yeah, so if something is wrong with a Flutter app, it's essentially badly written. And you can easily actually figure out what is wrong with it and where it actually tries to do too much, or why it doesn't do it, as it's supposed to. There's also another thing that very often you see that someone is doing comparison and you see this tiny banner here saying debug. And this is very interesting because that's another thing that, Flutter guys say, oh, if we're building this thing from beginning, we have to fix this, right? And what the debug is that essentially this is a JIT, just-in-time compilation. So this app is actually VM running a code which was simply pushed to the device. The app was already running. The executable was pushed there, reloaded, and shows it, which means that it's slower. But what it gives you something which we really like, which is hot reload. And what hot reload does is that essentially the moment you press R on your console, what it does is essentially compiles again into JIT the Dart code, pushes to the device, and without losing the state, my favorite scenario, you're building your awesome app, you have a registration form, which is 6 pages, and on the last one is the edit box, which doesn't display the proper comment if you write a wrong answer to it. And so you're going actually deleting your account because you're working as the backend, so you're going this one, and then you have a one chance to see if you fix this thing. Yeah, and Flutter just go to this place, you modify the code, you reload. Oh, it's still truncated. Reload, reload, reload. Reload takes 400, 500 milliseconds, yeah, or a second, something like that. So you do something in seconds, what on Android, in the scenario which I've seen, essentially people standing there, takes hours to go through. Yeah, recently I've seen actually one of our developers who was working for some other bank, working on an app which actually, there was a bug which happened only when the app was obfuscated and compiled to release. And to see his problem actually surfacing, he had to wait 11 minutes because this is how long it takes ProGuard to obfuscate the code base he's using. And so the one, chance to see his, does it fix it or not, every 10 minutes. So 10 minutes, 6, mistakes per hour, 8 hours of work. That's not much progress, right? That's not much progress. So again, hot reload, yeah, it allows you to get quicker, quicker response to your actions, but also it will affect all other things. How quickly you will learn this thing. If you see, oh, I've done wrong. I've done my maps wrong and I'm drawing the circle in the wrong way. Yeah, you see it instantly. Oh, now it's fine. So yeah, but, you know, usually it should be 60 frames. Yeah, like in cinema.
Well, having cross-platform join libraries is
Mhm.
nothing new.
Yeah.
So one common argument against them is that you're losing the native look and feel.
Hmm.
So you go back to Qt, GTK,
Yes.
on
Yeah.
mobile platforms. They are fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can program them, but they will never look
Like a real thing.
And with mobiles especially, where the general UI features are relatively
Mhm.
nice, so they are changing relatively rapidly. You need, so would Flutter try to solve this problem, or they're just saying, hey, we are Google, this is what you get, you will have a Google UI, period.
Yeah, so by default you have both. Yeah, so I have essentially material package and I have a Cupertino package. And actually recently it's very strong effort to actually push this, figure out where I am and what I'm doing, right? Because in essence, if this is a package, I can put both of them in one app and see decide by platform. This was, I think, my first blog post was about actually how they look and behave. And then on the other hand, it's like you have an absolute freedom. If you want to be very vicious, you can make the app which works as a material design, you rotate it. It was really Flutter was designed to allow us to free ourselves from what the guide said. When I first time met with area, I'm building a Netflix app. It has to work in a browser. It has to work on mobile, on PlayStation, and on anything, and it has to look roughly the same. Have the same types of widget that actually, you know, they're sliding these icons, and you know, it's this, and it's heavily Netflix. It's like no one else has these types of widgets. No one else has these types of things. So this is what the scenario is. It's like I'm creating my brand, and then on the other hand, look what is happening to material design right now. It starts to look like iOS more and more. Because essentially the designers recognize that actually we don't feel stranger on another device, because this is more likely they're going to switch from iPhone to Android or vice versa. It's like, you know, why Android has now the, the application cover flow running horizontal, not vertical. It was easier to do thumbnail to scroll it up and down. No, we just have it the same way iOS has. So see, this is where the design is going. And even the, the fathers of material design start to say things like, oh, it's a guideline. It's for us to tell you what is inherently wrong with the thinking about design, not how it looks. It can look any way you like it. You can customize in any way. It's just that if you do these things, this is what you're losing. It's like you're losing the clarity of it, or you put too much noise on the screen because you have some text fully capitalized and another isn't, right? So it is becoming a guideline, not a standard, right? But still, if you want to keep the standard, here it is. And the thing is that if you run this on a, this is actually the iOS layout, because you don't see the material design. Oh, maybe it isn't. No, it is Android. Oh, no, this is iPhone. Yeah, this is iPhone. And the title is in the middle. So essentially, widgets will figure out, oh, I'm on iPhone, put the title in the middle. Oh, I'm on Android, put it on the side. But to be honest, you can control. You can say, put it in the middle anyway. I'm on Android. I don't care about material design. I just want to have it in the middle, because actually, my title in my app is a logo of the company, not a text. And I can do it here. Yeah. So on Android, and this is this part I was talking about, separation of concerns, is that action bar on Android will tell you, okay, this is the text you can set as a title or put some icon in front of it. Here is a widget. So I can replace this and put a video cover flow if I want to. I don't want to, but I can, and nothing stops me from doing this because this is completely plug and play like Lego blocks. So yeah, so there is a support for native look and feel, right? And we don't breach this, but I think it was, what's his name? His name is Byron. He's from Facebook. He's like a React developer or something like that. Is it John? No, I don't remember now. He said that, you know, a long time ago, essentially when the mobile was created, essentially too much power is put into the hands of developers, and then we end up with a backlog having these cool things on the UI to be done last or never. This is what he was essentially saying. So essentially it's too much power for us to organize essentially the architecture of the app, but actually when it comes to expression, what we want to show on a screen, we restrict our designers from doing so because we cannot do it, it's too old version, we cannot support it there, and so on. And you know, one thing I haven't mentioned is that, you know, if you control what you're displaying, does it matter on which version of Android you're displaying? No. Yeah, so currently someone actually made the compiler work or 42-bit iPhones. So I can put things, I think iPhone 4 or something. If I tell anything on iOS team to build me up for an iPhone 4, they're going to be crazy. We don't do these things. We don't even know if a Swift runs on this thing. So yeah, so that's something you're getting. Essentially, you're getting the responsibilities are now within the app to draw everything. The platform is just to essentially give you the access to the hardware and make it run. And that's it. And this is what it should be from the beginning. So why not?
Because I expect on a film, I expect consistency. If I update my operating system,
Mm-hmm.
and they modify the way how a button works,
Mm-hmm.
slider works,
Yeah.
then I expect all the apps to follow that one.
But they automatically they won't until you actually get them, right? So what you have it on Android is, oh, you're doing this kind of on a quasi way, just having support libraries, right? You don't build currently anything on what is on the platform. You're building 100% everything on a support libraries. Fragments are support libraries. Every widget currently comes from some kind of support library. Because what? Because if you bundle with the app, you can actually put it on Froyo. If you don't, then you lose essentially 30% of your audience, or, you know, it's getting in. So you're still going to get actually what support library is telling you. It won't be the platform. The other things which like completely new functionality of the phone, let's say face recognition, right? Or, you know, Face ID kind of thing. Yes, it's new, comes with a new phone, and we have to build a plugin for it to actually get it. But in terms of UI, you will have a support library. So your apps, and most of the apps you will download currently from the Play Store, will be built mostly on support libraries, which means they're gonna stay the way they are and gonna look exactly the same, even on an LG, which displays completely different types of dialog boxes, right? Because it's gonna go to support dialog box, and it's gonna do exactly material design the way it's supposed to be, because client wants to have it consistent, regardless of what Android phone is running it. So that's actually, you know, you will see that, oh, new widget came and we don't have it. Yes, but this time is very short actually to get it back to this one. But actually the benefits of having control of the entire UI, absolutely. And the fact that this is where the Android is going anyway, because it's just simpler for them. Yeah, so imagine the struggle we would currently have on Android if you say, okay, my spread of my customers is Android 5, 12%, then up to previous one is 40% and just 10% rest of it on the newest version. And you have to build for each version different UI because the platform won't have it, right? So this is just moving the concern elsewhere, which you have control over. That's what it is. So yes, your app won't auto-magically upgrade itself to the new look and feel if someone changes it. No, but it's going to be still consistent. Right? Cool.
My company's mostly about creating Internet of Things hardware.
Yeah.
So we do the hardware,
Yeah.
firmware. But finding app developers who know how to speak to external hardware via the Bluetooth Low Energy interface, and NFC, and some of the internal sensors within the mobile devices.
Yeah.
That's always a hard thing to resource. Is this going to
Yeah,
help in that way, do you think?
So entire talking to the platform itself is done in similar fashion that is done on React Native and probably all other frameworks. Essentially, there is a bridge which has its channels, and I'm essentially subscribing on both sides. So this means that each platform I'm supporting for specific plugin, let's say Bluetooth, will have to have the plugin which operates in this platform. If someone doesn't actually create, so in the end, you're talking to what you have access to. The reason for it is that we don't anticipate how many platforms Flutter we're going to go on, right? And which platforms will actually flourish and be mostly using Flutter or not. So it's difficult to go and put everything into a Flutter basket and just try to do it from there. Sometimes it's even impossible because if you want to access the drivers, they may be in a different place. If I'm running on a Windows, there'll be a completely different way of accessing the device than actually I'm doing this in some other scenario. If I'm doing it in a browser on Linux, right? There will be a completely different way of doing it. So I'm not saying that, okay, stop learning Kotlin, right? No. You have to learn your Kotlin if you want to do the proper integration with Android and you have your integrations. And every project you're doing, you're starting actually assessing how much time you will spend developing integrations, because this will be the thing which is going to make you look like a normal native project. If it will be like, oh, I have to build everything from scratch because it's a custom device, everything, it doesn't then really matter in which one you're doing. The thing is that because this thing has so little requirements in terms of running, it just needs something to display, right? This makes it possible that there are wrappers which run directly on Raspberry Pi without the underlying system. So it just starts the app, and everything you have is just a Dart code. So you have a networking, it goes to the network and runs this directly from there. There were scenarios showing this. So I expect the companies like automotive, which have they have a CarPlay, they have a Android Auto, but they have also the custom stack. They're going to look at it. Yeah, it's cool because this fluffy UI part, which we want to have consistent for all our, setups, we want to run on everything. Why we would split and do three, do the Swift, do this Android, and then C++ on our custom stack, right? Why would you do that? So this is actually the scenario when it's actually very applicable to go this way. Once someone creates the plugin for it, usually it's published. So for usual scenarios like Bluetooth, you're going to see someone who will be publishing this, and it's going to go there. The other thing which is coming recently, and this was something which one illustrates essentially this power of not having dependencies, is that we express the need for essentially having FFI in Flutter, in Dart, so we can go directly to C++ libraries and C libraries and use them, like OpenCV kind of thing. So instead of going bridge to native iOS and then hit the C++ on Android and JNI and go to whatever it is, you will go directly. Same way as you're going to the platform through channels, you go through channel effectively to the C++ code, and you'll have it there. And this will actually create entire new version of plugins, which are gonna, for example, like Firebase, let's say. Instead of going to the platforms and setting up for both platforms, for iOS and Android, access to the Firebase, you're gonna go directly, do this everything in-house once in Flutter in Dart, right? So that's where the things are going right now. But yeah, in the end, it's gonna be some C++ code running somewhere doing something important, right? Recently, on one of the projects, I cannot tell for which company, we've built essentially a tail, and it was running on a Linux in a Docker container. So it was a Flutter app running in a Docker container, connecting to X and showing the thing. The reason why we've done this way is because the wrapper was written for Ubuntu and had a dependency of Ubuntu, and we found that if we were supposed to upgrade the CentOS to the level that these dependencies are required, we would turn it into essentially Fedora. So we said, no, we're going to put it in a Docker. And so we were able actually to put there, but still we were able to actually do things like go directly and call the, the system underlying what is actually there and access devices on the system from the Docker. So yeah, I don't know if actually this fits into IoT. Probably it's too big to run a Docker on it, but this was the one way of doing things that we've done. So there is a lot of possibilities in the sphere, and yeah, it's going to be slow. In some fields, it's going to be growing faster. In some fields, it's going to be growing slightly slower, but it's going to be growing. Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Swav.
Cool.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming to attend. I'd like to say a big thank you to Swav for coming in and sharing this awesome information with us. We're very privileged to have you here and telling us all about it. So thank you very much. And it's not about to end as well, because hopefully in a minute we can do a little bit more hands-on stuff. Unfortunately, though, for you guys watching on YouTube, it'll have to end here. If you do want to come down to our next meetups, please check out our meetup group. It's GDG Milton Keynes. And if you sign up and you register there, you can book yourself in for a next meetup, which I'm sure we'll have at some point, again, on Flutter. And obviously, we'd love to have you back at some point in the future again. So without further ado, we'll close this off, and thank you very much for joining us, and thank you, audience, for being here.